Hi guys, so I got inspired to talk about fear today after actually talking to my mom, because I feel like we have a very different opinion on that, and I kind of understand that a lot of people can have the opinion that is very different from mine. And the thing that is actually kind of funny, I found out that I think that it's kind of stupid that we usually only listen to people who agree with us, and we would like encourage each other and say like, yeah, this is so true, and we will only contribute to the conversation if it actually fits our own beliefs already. But if it doesn't, which actually could cause us way more help, and which could bring new perspective into our life, we usually kind of dismiss that, and we just render that people as stupid and think that they don't understand anything, and we don't really listen to them. And I think that listening to people who have extremely different opinions from yours can actually lead to you discovering new things in life. But that was kind of off topic. So what I wanted to talk about today is about how I got rid of lots of fear and anxiety in my life. And I used to have extreme amounts of fear and anxiety, and only when I stopped having that, I started understanding how limited my life was because of that. And fear really limits your possibilities and your experiences, because when you're scared of many things, you will avoid many things, and this is how your life becomes poorer and less interesting. And I think that in general, just fear accumulates in our bodies with stress hormones and all that kind of stuff, and anxiety is not a good thing as well if you suffer from it, you know. So it can be said about any negative emotion, to be honest, but I think that with fear it's most helpful and the results are most visible anyway. So let's start with the fear of the past, and it is actually kind of a really common thing. So people are either ashamed or embarrassed by some memories that we have, and we all have those embarrassing memories when we said something we shouldn't have said, or when we hurt people, or something like that. And we don't really like to revisit these memories because they cause us a lot of negative emotions. And so when these memories come up in our heads, we just dismiss them and we try to run away from them, switch to something else. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, I physically try to kind of take myself out of the situation that causes that. But I think that since I took another approach in life and with those kind of memories, my life actually became much better, and these memories stopped bringing me negative emotions anymore. And when I feel that some memory brings me negative emotions, I deal with it so that it doesn't anymore. And how did I do it? So when this kind of memory arises that causes you negative emotions, I'm like catching it like this. So I sit really quietly and I think, why does it cause me this negative emotion? And I try to relieve this memory over and over again, which seems really counterintuitive, because if this memory causes you such negative emotions, you don't want to do that. But actually you do want to do that, because once you relive it over and over again in your head, it stops being that scary or embarrassing or whatever anymore. It just becomes a memory without any emotional attachment to it. If you really don't feel very well, you can also combine it with like grounding exercises, like touching something comforting or grounding yourself in some other way in the present, and repeating that you are in the present moment, and that this cannot harm you anymore, this is not happening to you anymore, this is just something that happened in the past, and there is actually no real reason to be scared of that. Another thing is that I think that in the present, nothing is really as bad, except for maybe physical pain, as it is when we expect it or we remember it. So we are mostly scared about things that happen to us in the future, or we are sad or also scared about things that happened to us in the past. And this is sort of how dreams work in my case. So it really feels in the moment, like, you know, when you have this nightmares or the scary dreams, and it feels like way more grandiose than you would normally react to the situation. So your emotional response in dreams is kind of bigger than it would be in the same situation in life, and I feel that this is how we relieve the situation in our heads, and also how we project it to the future. So what I'm trying to say is that in the present, nothing is really as scary as it seems before. For example, when I was doing skydiving, I was so nervous the morning before that I could barely sleep, and I was really scared in the beginning, and I was very nervous about it. I didn't know what to expect, but then when I was doing it, actually it was not scary at all. It was just a really cool experience, kind of surreal, but it was really nice. And the same thing with everything. So you are more scared or like suffering more from anticipation or reliving the memory than from the event itself. So while you expose yourself more and more to those memories of yours that are uncomfortable, those that cause you the most negative emotions, and one trick that I use is either writing it down or saying it out loud. If there is someone who will listen to you, then perfect. You can just say it out loud to yourself, because our mind is very tricky. It can start shifting away from things that make it uncomfortable if we don't really force it, and writing it down or saying it out loud kind of really forces you to finish the thought. So this is what I would recommend. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing this if you are in acute psychological pain, or if you are going through like a really hard condition with your mental health, because obviously it can make things worse. You should really do that when you are in a normal like life situation, nothing threatening is really happening to you, you're calm, you're peaceful, you're in a safe environment. So I would really recommend doing that, and I keep doing that over and over again when a memory that I'm embarrassed by or that brings me like extreme sadness or something like this, when it arises, I just work through it over and over again until it causes no negative emotion and no emotion to me whatsoever. So it just becomes a story that happened to me with no emotion attached to it, and then I feel like my business is done here and I can move on. So as I said, writing things down can really help, and I have been journaling since I was maybe 12 or 11 years old. I was really writing down most of my thoughts and what was happening to me, and it really helps with self-reflection, because you kind of look back on your day or on the week or however often you enter something in your journal, and you also sort of put your thoughts down on the paper and they stop occupying you. Because of that, you don't have to hold this thought in your head anymore. And then when you want to analyze your past, for example, you can take your old diaries and look through them and discover things that you might have forgotten, but if you documented it, then it's really cool and it's good for you. So I would definitely recommend journaling. And when you're journaling, and if something a negative thought arises, pay attention to that and write down what caused it and why and when this happened, what triggered it. And when you analyze that, you will be more familiar with what sort of things cause what sorts of emotions, and so it will be easier for you to self-reflect. Obviously, this requires a lot of discipline. There is no magic pill in this case, like with most things in life. You have to really work through this, and I am not going to lie, it can be really uncomfortable, it can be really hurtful at some points, but it's definitely worth it, because first of all, you will feel so proud of yourself when you are not scared of the things that you used to be scared of anymore. Also, because your everyday life will just become so much better. So when you have dealt with the things that were scary or uncomfortable or anxiety causing for you from the past, you can move on to the future and the present. So if you know that you're scared of something, for example, like public speaking, you can try exposing yourself to limited amounts of this kind of stressor. So for example, speak in front of 2 of your friends, or go and just at a party talk to a larger group of people. And you have to kind of balance it out so that it is uncomfortable for you, but it doesn't scare you as much that you will never just go anywhere anymore. So you have to kind of like be really mindful of how comfortable you are with this or that, and play on the like border between comfortable and uncomfortable. So, and then you can stretch it out even more, and your comfort zone will become wider. And this is how you get rid of your fears in the present, and actually not only with fears, also with things that just make you uncomfortable or the things that make you ashamed. And I think that it also increases your self-esteem so much, because this is what I have noticed in myself, even with like the posture and the facial expression and how I present myself. I look back at myself a couple of years ago and how I am now, and I understand how much everything has changed, like from the way that I stand and sit, and my shoulders and my body language and everything. And this is such a good indicator of your self-esteem. And also, I mean, these things are sort of connected to each other. So when you sit really straight or stand really straight, or when you don't clench your jaw, or you don't really like squish your face, and you just softly hold a neutral facial expression or like a soft smile, and you look people directly in the eye, and you do all this kind of stuff that indicates that you are self-assured and that you are comfortable in your own skin, you will gradually become more and more comfortable with yourself, and your body will go into this feedback loop, like positive feedback loop with your mind, and you will discover more and more good things about yourself and your environment, and you will be less scared of people, and you will be more comfortable around people. And I think that there is only positive things about that can happen. The only thing that you have to do is to be uncomfortable for a little bit, but it really pays off in the long run, because you have your entire life ahead of you, and you want to live it to the fullest and not be scared of everything. So yeah, when you really pay attention to what scares you and what makes you uncomfortable, and you're ready to face it, so you have to really be internally ready to go there and fight for your own freedom from your own fears, to fight for your self-esteem, because as I said, you will be really proud of yourself when you overcome the fears that you have. You really will get rid of so much of anxiety. So from a person who was literally scared of everything, from not being enough, or eating because this might make you fat, or many other things, to a person who is now kind of, you know, I won't say that I'm not scared of anything, but I definitely know that I'm much stronger than I thought that I was, and it really gives you lots of energy and power to like go through everyday life, because you're not scared to go and ask your boss for something, or you're not scared to come up to a person and talk to them, or you're not really scared of this many things, because you remember that you overcame so much already, and this just gives you so much of a boost for your self-esteem and for many other things in life, that it really changes your life for the best. And just one finishing thought, the things that you're scared of are going to control you, and as long as you are avoiding something, this thing is controlling you. So I think that no one really wants to be controlled, and if you really want to be free and you want to be responsible for your own life, then I would definitely recommend you looking at things that trigger you, at things that make you uncomfortable, anxious, or scared, and all of this kind of nasty stuff. And I would dive there with precaution, of course, not to cause more harm than good, but definitely I would pay attention to that, because I think that it's very important to face your fears and prove to yourself that you are worth it. Yeah, so I hope that this video was helpful for you guys, and I wish you a very nice week. Love you so much, be nice humans, and goodbye.